All right, welcome everyone to my favorite part of the day, Forex market update. Let's get into it. Start with gold. Contextually speaking, we'll bring this a little lower so we can see it. We have broken to bullish on the hourly. However, everything else remains bearish. So bearish on the 2, bearish on the 4, bearish on the daily. And we are only bullish on the weekly, with this still being our weekly low. So yeah, as much as the hourly is bullish, everything else is still bearish. So you can take that into consideration. I'm not really gonna. You can sort of look at this from a range, but it's just not the cleanest price action, if you will. We've grabbed all this. Honestly, I'm going to be looking at this as a potential distribution. From a Asia lows. Text. You know what, I'm going to remove this Asia low text. And I'll draw my Asia low right here. That it will make it a little bit easier to see. Okay, so this is my Asia low. And this is my Asia high. So plan, and we've also created quite a bit of liquidity on this Asia high. So plan here is pretty simple. Look for a sweep of Asia high, and then potentially in New York, look for a break of structure back down. Given we leave no liquidity below, it's not really in the best spot, this range, just because we have deviated the higher time frame accumulation range. So you can sort of expect, especially that we're now bullish on the hourly, you can sort of expect price to continue moving higher and further move into the center part of this range, or the EQ, as you can call it. Yeah, and at least now how we're moving up, it's a little bit aggressive, but still early days. From a supply perspective, yeah, no real valid supply. It's kind of all been grabbed. Unless we can use some structural supply on the 1 minute. If you really want, you can use this 1 minute OBIF, but very low time frame, of course. And we're quite a while away from it as well. Yeah. But I guess from the accumulation perspective of this range, price could reject from this POI. So this is just, it's simply just a POI on the chart where we could get a rejection from. But I still prefer a model 1 here. And then a dump. but I do need a decent return to zone, which I'm not getting it at the moment. But at least given the fact that this move up was created on London Open, we can potentially view this as manipulation. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, my alerts are set and not a whole lot more that I can do at the moment. For gold, but I will be very cautious with shorting this because, yeah, as I said, I do kind of expect us to go high, especially that we have transitioned to bullish on the hourly, which hasn't been changed here. And then the 2-hour market structure high is this is not valid. The 2-hour market structure high is all the way here, so there's quite a while. There's quite a bit of room to go. So yeah, you can kind of expect that, you know, obviously we've moved to bullish on the hourly. We can expect a rotation all the way to the 2-hour market structure high, which I'm trying to move this so it's which the 2-hour market structure high is here. So you can technically expect a rotation for price to come all the way up to the 2-hour market structure high, and whether it respects it or breaks it, we don't know. But yeah, I can also expect or pre-plan for gold to do this. So yeah, only time will tell. So I'm going to need, for me to take this as a local scalp, I'm going to need a clean break of structure and at least some form of return to zone locally, which we're not getting it at the moment, despite this move being created on the London Open, which you can see here. So yeah, we'll leave this as is and we'll see what happens later on in the evening. I think there's also a little bit of demand here. And then let's see if there is demand here. So yeah, this is a valid 1-minute structural demand POI. Completely valid. It doesn't necessarily affect us at the moment because it is outside of our range, which we're looking at. But let's see if we have a... Right now we have a potential 45-minute demand POI in the making. It's just not really confirmed yet. And yeah, whenever these POIs aren't really valid on the low time frame as a structural demand POI, then they're not really that valid overall, and especially that it's attached to a session open, you can pretty much scrap this demand POI, so it's not of interest. If it doesn't have valid structure when zoomed in, and it's also tied to a session open, then that's kind of all the confirmation you need that this is just a manipulation move. So yeah, given that I can confidently short a break of structure down after we've swept Asia high, given the structure break is correct and strong. So we will see what happens there. That is gold for now. Let's move on to silver. Silver's kind of doing what I'm wanting it to do and pull back into this range. Has it transitioned to bullish on the 1 hour? Yes, it has. There's our hourly high, so we're bullish on the hour. Are we bullish on the 3 as well? Not quite. No, so just bullish on the 1. Everything else remains bearish. This demand here as well can be seen as manipulation. However, it kind of has been mitigated. We do just have this left, but I don't expect a great reaction from this demand POI. As I've said, it does look to be manipulation. Created on the Asia Open. Boom, there we go. In fact, I'd much rather do this and just showcase where the potential true inefficiency lies on the chart. Boom. Other than that, not a whole lot I'm interested in doing for silver at the moment. Just be patient and see how price develops. A lot of nice liquidity here, as you can see. Beautiful, beautiful highs adding up nicely. So we might be able to get some sort of accumulation later down the track, but we will see. I do prefer a Model 1 here just because we have some semi-decent liquidity here, and then there is also demand right below, so a Model 1 will be very much so preferred here, but as I've said many times before, only time will tell. So we will see. Let's have a look at oil pumping right into supply there. Quite clearly we are still bullish across the board. The only thing I would do here is look for retracement POIs, and at the moment there's still no better POI than this right here. Somewhat of a compression here. Yeah, no real POI at the moment, so let's just be patient and see what happens. So we will leave oil as is. Let's go to Euro USD. Still bullish on the hourly. That is our 2-hour low. It is now also a valid 3-hour low, just because we have 2 consecutive bullish candles here. It's also a valid 4-hour low. Yeah, so the 4-hour we are bullish because as much as this candle SFP'd it, well, actually, as a matter of fact, my apologies. No, we are bearish on the 4-hour because this is the 4-hour market structure high, which has just been SFP'd. So yeah, still bearish on the 4. Still bearish on the 3. Still bearish on the 2 because this is our 2-hour market structure high as well alongside the 4. So there's no real... It's even a valid 6-hour. Is it a valid 8-hour? No, so it's a valid 6-hour. It's a valid 6-hour pull, which was SFP there. So still very much at play for a potential distribution here, which I do really, really like. And yeah, it's still valid. It's a valid 2 hours high here. think there's... Yes, that's valid 1 hour structure, valid 1 hour structure again. Yeah. So as of now, we are only bullish on the 1 hour, and this remains as is. So plan here. So yeah, plan here is essentially still as is. Be patient and wait for us to continue moving up slowly, creating that or leaving behind that sell side liquidity, sweeping extreme liquidity, and then entering on that break of structure and targeting the range low, which is in line with our context. So fairly decent pre-planning here on Euro USD, and I would urge you all to be patient for this setup because it looks quite good so far. But as always, I've said it many times before, we trade confirmations, not expectations. So if we do not get the confirmation, maybe we continue going higher to mitigate supply first before pumping down. Then it is what it is, like that. And yeah, it is what it is. So far I'm still liking the environment here. It looks really, really good, and yeah, I am just being patient for now. GBP NZD, let's have a look. Yeah, still bearish on the hourly, still bearish on the 4 as well. Very much so still bullish on the daily. Yeah, still bullish on the daily, which can be good. It is good context for a potential accumulation here. And then the weekly. Weekly is still bearish, unfortunately, after a weekly SFP there. So yeah, it's kind of a neutral context at the moment. Neutral, semi-bearish context, you could say. There, and yeah, meaning this accumulation can be deemed semi-counter context to neutral. We are in demand. I mean, look, so far the return to zone is not bad. If we can get some decent price movement coming back into the zone, creating more liquidity, then you can always take a 0.5% risk long. So we will see what happens. But at the moment, this needs quite a bit more time. So we'll just leave this as is. And that is it for now for a GBP NZD. All right, let's keep the ball rolling. NZD CAD. Well, distribution has completed itself really, really nicely. And that is also... It's also the perfect sign as to why you should always take your TP at the range low. Like, look at that. If you didn't have your TP here, and for whatever reason you want to TP at demand or a bit lower, then you just cop the absolute price on that one, as price is completely reversed. And then given it has done what it has done, I am now looking at this as a potential new range. Prime example of distribution creating a higher time frame distribution. Wyckoff 101 here. Let's have a look contextually speaking. We are now bullish on the hourly. Still bullish on the 4. And then the daily is it bearish? Probably. Actually, as a matter of fact, well, there's the SFP. So initially we SFP this daily high, then we move away from it, then we come back up, SFP it again, then we move away. So yeah, we've just continued to SFP this daily high. So yeah, as of now, currently we are still bearish. Looking at the weekly, as a matter of fact, okay, yes, that puts a lot of things into perspective. Still very much so bearish on the daily, and then the weekly. Yeah, so this is our weekly low, as a matter of fact. That's our break. Fair enough. So yeah, I'm just leaving this as is for now. Focusing on this higher time frame distribution, seeing where price goes. Still very much so bullish on the weekly and still bearish on the daily. So it is semi-neutral context here. You could even say semi-counter just because we are bullish locally speaking. So we will see what price does. So I've got this like little insect that's just buzzing around. I'm trying to grab it. And then the 4 is, yeah, obviously still bullish here. Let's see how this range plays out really. If we do go higher, if we do go higher, I do feel like we're probably going to grab this or move towards it at least. Yeah, some decent liquidity being left here, as we can see, even like locally. Yeah, clean liquidity here, very clean. We'll mark this out. So yeah, this can be a valid target for later on. But for now, our attention will remain to this distribution model in here. So we will leave this as is. We'll move on to AUD USD. Well, already we can sort of target this as a potential range, just straight off the bat, like so. We are bullish on the hour. We're probably bullish on the 4, yeah. Okay, bullish on the hour, bullish on the 4. That's fine. And then we are still bearish on the daily, and then weekly is bullish. Yeah, weekly is bullish for now. Same thing, obviously we are looking at a potential distribution here, so it's like semi-counter context just because everything else is bullish with the exception of the daily time frame. So you're kind of going to want a few more time frames to be bearish for a potential distribution here. What I do like is the weekly opens here. And the weekly open is very susceptible to getting taken out, especially that there's no wick. So yeah, I'm very much liking how this is playing out. I'm actually going to move this higher up. I think there was another range or so that had the weekly open at the range low. That's fine. Yeah, really like how this is playing out for now. GBP NZ didn't. Maybe was it NZD CAD? Yes, NZD CAD as well. Although it has left a wick, but still a valid weekly open. So yeah, so far so good. So far so good. We'll move on to USD CAD. Did I do the... We'll bring that down. Okay, that's all looking good. We've done NZD CAD, USD CAD. Yeah, still bearish. Still bearish, and then the daily is obviously still bullish. Weekly is bullish. We are looking at a potential high time frame distribution, which is once again semi-counter, just because high time frames are bullish, and we're looking to distribute on the higher time frame. What I am willing to look at is a potential accumulation here. So far, I'm seeing no return to zone, so I will definitely need a return to zone later down the track. Because yeah, as of now, we're still bearish, low time frame. So for me to look for an accumulation, I will need, yeah, as I've said, I will need some better price action. But at the moment, not a whole lot for me to do for USD CHF. This is a valid supply, so we'll definitely want a mitigation of this first before we can look to accumulate. Weekly open's been taken out nicely. Asia low's been taken out. Asia high remains intact. There it is right there. So yeah, let's just be patient here and see how this plays out for now. We had AUD CAD go off, which is, we're going to get to it fairly soon. Okay, so GBP AUD invalid because we wicked it here. No longer valid, unfortunately. That is the way. That's just the way it goes. The weekly open has invalidated this range, unfortunately. Okay, weekly open, here it is. We'll mark that on our chart. Boom. Weekly open's been taken out there. Obviously, weekly open hasn't been taken out. There is the weekly open. So yeah, I am liking how the weekly open is sitting at quite a few of these ranges. There's the weekly open here. Yep. Yes. All right, so weekly open here. I've marked this. I'm going to set this as a... We'll set this as a template, as I have not thus far. Alerts have been set here. Perfect. So that's definitely a great target right there. Okay. And then, yeah, obviously we had the weekly open here. Weekly open and range low, perfect. And the weekly open has been taken out there. Okay, so we were at GBP USD still. Honestly, we're still bullish across the board here. Nothing has changed, but there's just nothing to really accumulate from. So I am going to be patient and wait for us to move towards this demand. That's pretty much it. AUD CAD. That's a lovely, lovely weekly open. That is beautiful. Let's have a look what the context is saying on AUD CAD. We are now bullish on the hourly as well. So this is our 4-hourly low. So we are now bearish on the 4. Technically bearish on the 1 as well. Still bullish on the daily, and then probably still bullish on the weekly, I would assume. Yeah, so we're just bearish on the 4 and the 1. With this being our high, our 4-hour high. Okay, so we'll leave this as is. Not a whole lot to work with at the moment. Plan here is pretty much look for distributions and then target this weekly open. So we will leave this as is. And we will see how we go. USD JPY. We've compressed. Still leaving behind some nice liquidity. I am happy to monitor this range. We've put in a new high. This is our low. Yeah, still bullish. Not a whole lot has changed. For the 4-hour is... The 4-hour is still bearish. That's our 4-hourly high, which is quite far away. Daily is probably still bullish and weekly is probably still bullish. Yeah, so overall it's a fairly bullish context. Fairly bullish context. The only thing that is bearish is the 4-hour. So yeah, technically speaking, we can be looking for accumulations for now. Obviously, I'm looking at 2 sort of potential distributions because there is some nice liquidity below. If any of the if the Asia session lines up well with this, then I will definitely look at this from a potential distribution point of view. There is our Asia low. If this gets swept, then I'm no longer interested in this distribution range whatsoever. And then we've obviously got the Asia high here as well, so it's a scenario of either or really, but it does look likely that we are going to take out that Asia high. So yeah, let's see what happens here. As I said, if this Asia low gets taken out, I'm not really looking at this from a range anymore. But if we front run the Asia low, which is optimal scenario, and we come up, sweep Asia high, then as soon as we get a clean break, then I am happy to short this. But yeah, only time will tell, so let's see how we go. technically speaking, if I'm just looking at this a bit closer, so that was our hourly high. Obviously, we broke it there, broke back to bearish. Let me, you know what? Let me just draw some clean structure here. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, that's close enough for a low. We understand that we're... Okay, so we've... It's actually just one candle there. So this is our... That's our hourly high. There's no consecutive 2 bearish candles here. There, we've broken to bullish right here. That's our hourly low, which we've SFP'd. We've SFP'd our hourly low. Yeah, so actually we are very much still bullish on the hour. So yeah, this is correct. And then to validate the 2 hour, yeah, same thing. So yeah, this is drawn correctly. Let's be patient and see how this plays out. AUD CAD. Not really interested in anything at the moment. If anything, maybe this later down the track, we'll see. Four hour is officially bearish now. That's our break of structure. Bearish on the 1 as well. Are we bearish on the daily? Yes. Yeah, so pretty pro context potential distribution here. So let's see how this plays out. Weekly open is the range low as well, which I do like. Awesome. Euro NZD. Yep, still bearish here overall, with the exception of the weekly. Nothing really to... Yeah, I'm not looking at this as an accumulation. We're just so bearish at the moment. We've come down so aggressively. There's nothing really to do at the moment. The only thing I'd be doing is just looking for distributions, which clearly are not happening at the moment. So just be patient and let's continue monitoring how price develops here on Euro NZD. And then if I'm to look at the weekly open, there it is. Leave that as is. Euro GBP. Still very much so bearish on the hourly. There's our weekly open. Not a whole lot to monitor at the moment for Euro GBP. Let's just see how price plays out. Maybe there is some supply here, but I feel like it would have possibly been mitigated on the lower time frame. Okay, it's actually quite valid. Very valid structural supply there, so we'll leave that as is. But yeah, contextually nothing has changed, so just look for distributions Ideally, optimal scenario is we front run the weekly open, leave behind some nice liquidity, mitigate supply, and then just distribute and target this weekly open right here. That would be optimal scenario, but only time will tell. We'll see what happens. USD CAD. This is valid structure, but it all depends on how we close here. Not a whole lot I'm interested in doing at the moment. Weekly open has been taken. Yeah, I'm not too interested in this range just yet. Needs a bit more time. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. GBP USD. Similar story here, just needs a little bit more time. Yeah, still bullish. Terms of the weekly open, is that it there? Yes, it is. That hasn't been taken out, so we might be able to catch some form of distribution towards it, especially upon mitigation of the supply, should that happen. So we'll set our alerts and just be patient here. And then GBP, JPY last but not least. Still bullish, leaving behind lovely liquidity. And then our weekly open, there it is. So that could also be a target later on, but not a whole lot to do at the moment. So yeah, that is it for today, guys. To summarize, we've been going for 48 minutes. Let me just check on this XMR short that I'm currently in. All right, gold has swept Asia high. Interesting. Is there valid structure here? There is. But once again, as I've said many times before, I need a clean break. It's not valid yet on the 3 minute, but it is. It's also not valid on the 2 minute. There's no real demand below, so that's fine. So we will see if we can create some valid structure and then potentially break this. And then yeah, silver's doing its thing. Oil didn't really give us anything. And yeah, this is what we're monitoring so far. So some slightly higher time frame distributions at play here. Euro USD looks quite nice. I really like it. AUD USD as well, potentially in line with the weekly open at range low. GBP NZD needs a bit more time, but potentially interesting there. Weekly open at range low for NZD CAD as well. And then we're also a potential accumulation here on USD CHF. So yeah, there's a few things for us to monitor. Set your alerts. Obviously, it helps if you watch these videos so you can catch these in real time with myself. But yeah, other than that, guys, thank you for listening, viewing, watching. Subscribe if you've made it this far. and I will see you all on the next one. Peace.